We trust our eyes, right? We assume that what they show us is reality. But what if they're only showing us the tiniest sliver of the picture? What if there's a whole other kind of sight, a much more powerful one, just sleeping inside of us? Today, we're going to dive into exactly that, the power of unseen sight. And look, this isn't just some sci-fi fantasy stuff. An author named C.W. Leadbeater basically argued that seeing beyond our physical limits, well, it's like a forgotten science. It's a natural ability we all have. His book, Clairvoyance, is pretty much a user's manual for waking up that sleeping potential. So what are we talking about when we say clairvoyance? Well, the name literally means clear seeing. But, and this is the key part, it has nothing to do with your actual eyes. It's all about perceiving stuff that's way beyond what our normal five senses can pick up. You know that gut feeling you get sometimes? That powerful intuition when you just know something's off, or you have a sudden flash of insight? Leadbeater says those moments are actually little glimmers of this hidden ability trying to get your attention. And this is probably his most powerful point. Clairvoyance isn't some magical gift that only a few people get. Nope. Think of it more like a muscle, a natural muscle that every single one of us has. For most of us, though, that muscle has gotten, well, pretty weak from not being used. His whole book is basically a workout plan for how to start strengthening it again, safely and gently. Okay, so if we're not using our eyes, how on earth does this seeing actually happen? I mean, what's the mechanism here? To get that, we have to zoom out and look at how the book describes the universe itself. The core idea is actually pretty simple, but it's huge. Everything vibrates. Everything. Your thoughts, your feelings. They aren't just locked up inside your skull. According to Leadbeater, they're actual energy waves that ripple out from you, leaving a kind of imprint on everything around you. So a clairvoyant, they're just someone who's trained their mind to tune in and actually perceive those super subtle vibrations. The best way to think about it is like a radio. A radio picks up invisible waves flying through the air and turns them into sound, right? Well, the clairvoyant's mind does pretty much the same thing. It acts like a receiver, catching all these invisible waves of information that are floating around us all the time. But instead of turning them into sound, it translates them into pictures. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Leadbeater's whole model says that we're more than just our physical bodies. We also have what he calls an etheric body, which is kind of like our energy blueprint, and an astral body, where our emotions live. And clairvoyance, he says, is really just the art of learning to use the eyes of these other, more subtle bodies. It's about turning down the volume on our physical eyes so we can start to see with these deeper senses. Right, so this ability isn't an on or off switch. It's more like a spectrum, or maybe a ladder of perception. There are different levels, different forms of seeing that you can kind of climb up as you develop it. So, the first step on that ladder is what he calls simple clairvoyance. This is stuff like seeing what's inside a closed box or knowing the next card in a deck. Step 2 is clairvoyance in space. You might have heard of this as remote viewing. That's seeing something happening, thousands of miles away. And then the top rung, the rarest form, is clairvoyance in time, getting glimpses of the past or even possible futures. Okay, this is all incredibly cool, but I know what you're thinking. How do I actually do it? Well, the book lays out a really clear path. And here's the twist. It doesn't start with trying to see anything. It starts with getting your mind ready to see. And the number one most crucial thing is this: a calm mind. You have to quiet down all that inner chatter first. The book uses this great analogy. You can only see a clear reflection in a still lake. If the water's all choppy and turbulent, the reflection is a mess. Same with your mind. If it's full of anxiety or stress, any perception you get is going to be distorted. So meditation, that's step 1. It's how you let all the mud in your mind just settle to the bottom. So once your mind is a bit calmer, here's a simple exercise you can actually try. It's about seeing what's called the etheric double. That's just the energy blueprint of your body that sticks out a tiny bit from your skin. Find a spot with dim light and put your hand up against a dark background, like a wall. Now, here's the trick. Don't stare at your hand. Unfocus your eyes and look past it. Just soften your gaze. If you wait a moment, you might start to see this thin, hazy kind of blue-white light around your fingers. And that's your very first peek into the unseen world. After you get the hang of seeing that etheric double, the next step up is seeing the aura.
This is a much bigger energy field that comes off a person, and it actually has colors that change depending on their mood, their health, their thoughts. Leadbeater says learning to see the aura is like learning to see the invisible emotional weather that's around every single person.
Now, developing this kind of ability is a really deep journey, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It has its dangers. I like to think of it like the internet. There's amazing, helpful stuff out there, but there's also a lot of junk and some real dangers. You absolutely have to learn how to navigate it with some wisdom. And Leadbeater is really clear that the biggest danger isn't some scary monster, it's something much more subtle, flattery. He talks about the astral plane, which he says has all kinds of entities, some helpful, some not so much, and the tricky ones might pretend to be wise guides or loved ones, but really they're just there to feed your ego and lead you astray. So here's a huge takeaway. Real guidance never, ever makes you feel special or more important than others. That's why humility and just good, solid discernment are your best protection. This brings up a really critical point. Your intention. Why do you want this ability? Leadbeater is super firm on this. This is not a tool to get rich or win the lottery. He says if you try to use it for selfish reasons, the ability will either just fade away or it'll get corrupted. The real purpose, he says, and the only way to develop it in a pure way, is to use it to help people, to use this deeper sight to understand suffering and to be of service. So, as we wrap this up, you gotta ask, what's the real point of all this? Is it really just about seeing cool stuff like auras or far-off places? According to the book, no. The true purpose is way, way bigger than that. You see, all that stuff, seeing auras, remote viewing, those are just side effects. They're not the main goal. The real prize is inner clarity. Ultimately, clairvoyance becomes a kind of mirror for your own soul. It makes you look at your own stuff, your fears, your ego trips, but it also shows you the incredible divine potential you have hiding underneath it all. And that really brings us to the final, most profound point of the whole book. The end goal isn't to become a psychic, it's to become wise. True vision has nothing to do with predicting the future. It's the ability to see the deep connection in everything, that one divine light that is in every single person, in everything, and inside of you. And when you can see that, well, you're not just seeing clearly anymore. You're seeing the truth.